Hello everyone, Mark Major here. This is the Action Figuratorium. That's the studio that I'm in, and we're going to go back on the bench today and we're going to take a look at one of these vintage collection playsets that came out recently. Here's the box for it. It's the Tantive IV. I know you guys have, I'm trying to get the reflection out of it. I know you guys have probably seen these advertised for sale, and you have also probably seen them in some toy photography. And so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask the question, is it worth it in terms of what they're kind of going for on eBay and secondhand markets, etc. And you know, just kind of the ins and outs of what you get with this thing and what are you really paying for. I think it's kind of interesting to see them doing play sets like this. So stick around. All right, let me punch it up on camera 2. Oh, look at this level of production, folks. Also, I would like to just do a quick plug for the Instagrams. If you don't know, now you know. There's an Action Figuratorium Instagram channel, and it is awaiting you. And, you know, if you guys show up there and you give me a follow, I'll give you a follow back. How about that? So this thing is the Tantive IV Playset, and when I first saw this, I initially thought that it looked pretty good. I thought it looks good in most people's photos. I thought that all the advertisement that they had done for it, you know, all the photos on the box, I thought those looked really good. I thought it depicted pretty much a kind of a cool product. So let's just go through exactly what you get with this thing. There are two white walls that make up the majority of it. They're the exact same piece. You get two of them. There are two doors that have a sliding mechanism, allows you to slide them open. Those are exactly the same. And then there is basically two pieces of floor, and one of them has kind of a curve joint, so you can you know, you can L-shape out the other way. And of course there are four kind of pieces on the back. Here, let me go turn this around so you guys can see them. Four pieces on the back that essentially, I guess, add a type of support, but they also kind of allow you a second scene, a second sort of diorama. You can make kind of a, you know, you can make like a Princess Leia escapes, droids going pod kind of thing on the back. Not necessary. I don't think they actually really needed to do that. I think for including those four pieces, though, I think that they sealed the deal for most of these collectors out there, because it is kind of multifunctional. You can also rearrange this thing in different ways if you're creative, and of course you can do what I did, is I bought a second one just so I could build them out or do, you know, something different, have something beyond the first door and maybe build the back of it or maybe build the rest of it. I just think to have more options is great. And if truth be told, I'd like to eventually get 4 of them. Now, of course, there are, you know, action figures that you're going to want to get to go with this. If you're a traditional sort of Star Wars collector, you're going to want to make a diorama of all these dudes. It does come with one figure on a card, and I think when people opened this and they saw that it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and the 4 back things, 10 pieces of plastic, right? And the doors and whatnot and the walls are duplicates of each other. I think people, for whatever they paid, I think people probably felt a little sort of cheated. And so that is why I believe that they had to sort of throw in the one carded action figure. Now, if you are looking to buy one of these, note that a lot of people, when they got them, took the figure out. Either they wanted the figure and they didn't want the kit, or they just wanted the display kit and they sold the figure separately to help pay for it, or maybe they just split both things up and sold them separately because they could derive more money that way. I feel as if there's part of purchasing this was reselling the figure or reselling the kit without the figure. And so you're going to find it split up quite often where the figure is not included. So if you're looking for one and you decide to make a purchase, keep that in mind, that we do not live in a perfect universe. It is a used universe, and you may not get the figure. Now, I have a second one that I haven't taken out yet, still brand new in the box, and still has the carded figure with it. This one I bought in the box with all the packaging, and you know, they do give instructions for this thing, right? I don't know, like, it looks like a comic book or something. This looks like there wasn't really enough to instruct people about. They do give instructions on on this piece, you know, not that you necessarily need it, but I got all the stuff used, and then I was looking for some troopers, and I know they did one in 95, Power of the Force. He's like the beefcake guy. I got one. He sucks. He's terrible. He's so terrible that I'm not even going to dig him out for this video. I managed to pick up two of the guys that I believe came from the Battle in the Box, where it's a Darth Vader, 2 Stormtroopers, and 2 of these guys. And I have them. I got them for $8 each. They were in auction for $16 total. Actually, might have been just a few change less of that. And then the guy who was selling this piece, this used one that, you know, had everything, all the parts in the box, but had been open, he was throwing in the 4 Rebel Troopers that you could buy for a very, very small window on the Hasbro Pulse website. I think around circa 2019, 2020 or so, where it's just 4 Rebel Fleet Troopers, and each one has a different head sculpt, but they all have the same body. It's actually 3 Troopers and 1 Captain. You get a Captain Antilles in the brown uniform here. So, but it's a 4-pack of dudes. It's a troop builder. I think that these guys have, you know, the vintage collection, I feel that they're actually getting pretty smart in their toy offerings and how they package them. Like, for example, there's no point in offering, you know, 1 Cantina band. You got to buy the 5-pack or the 7-pack, even though they're all exactly the same and just come with a different instrument. That's how people need to buy it. They're kind of forcing people to buy 5 or 7 at a time, and I think that's good, because then I think the figure gets made and most people want to buy 5 or 7, etc. So same thing with the Rebel Troop Pack. Okay, so let's switch back and let's talk about how much these things cost, right? So I saw Nerdzoic toy store had a sale on them for like $34. I don't think that included the shipping. I have seen them for around $33, free shipping, eBay, all day long for a long time. Sometimes those dry up, but then someone else will come out with a bunch. When I bought my first one, which was new in the package with the figure, it was $30. The guy had sold about 10. He had about 3 left. And so I just kind of started and added it to my watch list, and then I got an offer for 10% off. So I got mine for $27. And the reason I chose to go in on that is because, you know, you got to think of like exactly how cheap are you eventually going to find these. You might find them used somewhere loose, missing pieces or whatnot for, you know, somewhere between 10 and $20, but when is that going to happen? Like, how long do you have to wait? How many years? And so it's just fun to get this thing in hand eventually. And I felt $27 is kind of the ultimate price. But I would say if you see one of these things, it's in the box, it's got all the stuff, and it's got the guy on the card, and it's $25, don't hesitate, get one if you're looking for one. And if you find one for less than that, just buy it anyways, because you'll wish you had it. So what is kind of cool about this piece, right? Well, if you're into displaying figures on a shelf as a diorama, you know, yeah, you can recreate the scene from Star Wars, but really it's just more of that sort of Star Wars building blocks, and you can put anybody in this hallway and they're going to look pretty cool. So I think it's just as a generic Star Wars, you know, ship in space interior, it just works, okay? Now, if you're trying to do some type of cool, kitschy photography like I am, always trying, then of course you're going to want to buy this just to recreate that, but swap out the different elements. For example, you can have, like you see here, you can have all the troopers, you know, kind of lining up against the door, and then it's not stormtroopers coming in, it's this weird smog monster, or, you know, you could pick some other army that they're fighting against. Like I plan to do one with these Rebel fleet troopers taking on some World War II German guys. I think that'd be kind of cool. And of course, you can do cool things. You can bring in your smoke machine. You can bring in light behind the door. You can add that sort of stuff to it. You can add a lot of ambience, things like that. You could make this thing look more kind of photorealistic if you wanted to by customizing it, by just sort of adding some dirt and some noise to it. I always found that the interior set of that first Star Wars ship battle was very clean. I felt that they achieved that kind of 2001 look for just that corridor. I think that works. So you probably want to leave this pristine, but if you wanted to, I mean, you could totally juke this thing out and make it look all sorts of coolness. You, of course, can flip it around and use the thing on the back, but I don't think anyone's going to do that. I don't think that's really necessary. I think the show is really just the corridor. If you buy a couple and you kind of build them out and make them like that, that might be especially cool. That's what I'm hoping happens. I'm hoping some special coolness comes out from having a couple of sets. But you never know. A lot of times the things that you see in your head and you think are going to look great, when you actually get them on the camera, you find that they're kind of terrible. So overall, my take is that, yes, I do like the Tantive IV set. It is kind of, you know, cheesy in the way they sort of put it together and repeating it in terms of the consumer, but in terms of their side of how they manufactured it and how they came up with this thing, it's totally genius. And for them to sell it to where you could buy it from a store for 30, 35 bucks is pretty great on their end to actually make this thing. I mean, that's kind of affordable, to be honest. It's pretty affordable, and especially, like I said, if you throw the action figure in, a lot of the hurt feelings when you open the package and you go, what, it's just this? A lot of the hurt feelings go away when you have the figure, which is why I say if you can buy it in the box with the figure, the feelings are a lot less strained, and as we all know, feelings never heal. So that's it for this, you know, I guess we could call it a review. It's really just I needed to go in and investigate this thing on my own and see if it's worth any money whatsoever. And yeah, it passes the test. It's kind of a cool piece. I like it. I'm looking forward to it. And in fact, I'm going to try and get more. You know what I mean? All right, catch you guys on the next one.